Distributors accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today's Friday, the 3rd day of March 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, by so doing, the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, or if you celebrated one over the past few days, we want to wish you a happy birthday or a belated happy birthday, and to remind you that the For the Record birthday shoutouts are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is to live your best life and make sure your family can too. For those of you who have lost loved ones, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. This morning, again, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number, provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at For the Record, one word, For the Record at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261. Follow us on YouTube. You do that by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. We're also on Facebook as well. So, again, this segment of For the Record and the For the Record birthday shoutouts proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is to live your best life and make sure your family can too. So let's look at some birthday greetings. We had one for Mr. Marvin Johnson on Wednesday, but Mr. Marvin Johnson is actually celebrating his birthday tomorrow. So Lord Graham has given me that correction, and we want to wish Mr. Marvin Johnson a happy birthday when it comes tomorrow. Persons celebrating birthdays today, we have Miss Sheridale Whitaker over in Cayman Brac. She is celebrating her birthday today as well. So Miss Sheridale Whitaker, happy birthday to you. Other birthdays today, we have Miss Donna Mitchell celebrating her birthday today. Miss Rosa Harris, our tourism director, she's celebrating her birthday today. Miss Ingrid Sims also celebrating a birthday today. So we want to wish, again, Mr. Marvin Johnson tomorrow. Happy birthday when it comes. Miss Sheridale Whitaker celebrating her birthday today. Miss Donna Mitchell celebrating her birthday today. Miss Rosa Harris also celebrating a birthday today. Jason, I'm going to pronounce it both ways. Gilbert, they would be the English pronunciation, and Jobert would be the French pronunciation as well. So Mr. Jason Gilbert, or Jobert, celebrating his birthday today also. Ingrid Sims celebrating a birthday. And tomorrow, Miss Berna Cummings will be celebrating her birthday on the 4th of March, as well as Giovanni Williams celebrating his on the 5th of March as well. And again, to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is to live your best life and make sure your family can too. Before I introduce my guests, folks, we're going to take that commercial break so that when we start, we can go right up until the top of the hour for our 8 o'clock news. Please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
After much hard work and planning, the first agriculture show was held on Ash Wednesday, 1967, on the school grounds behind the Georgetown Public Library. When school finished on the Tuesday, work crews worked through the afternoon and night to set up the grounds for the 9 a.m. start to the show. The first agriculture show was a tremendous success and would become an annual event, growing so large that after several years, the show was moved to a new larger location on the grounds on Walker's Road. Success would continue, and as the show grew, it was moved to the cricket grounds near the Smith Road Oval. However, the Civil Aviation Department was not in favor of the location, and property was subsequently purchased in Lower Valley in the early 70s, and the show found its current home once construction of the Stacy Waller Pavilion was completed.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced courtesy of Mr. Charles Lindbergh Eden, The History of Agriculture, 50th Annual Agriculture Show magazine.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
It's all about humanity.
It will be Saturday, March 4th, the 11th Annual Rotary Central Health Check, the almost island-wide Rotary Health Screening. See us at Foster's Republic's West Bay, Cost You Less at Governor Square, West Bay Road, A.L. Thompson's Georgetown, Foster's at Countryside in Savannah, Bordentown, from 10 a.m. through 2 p.m. Take advantage of a free mini-medical, a physician's check on your blood pressure, your A1C, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your healthy weight evaluation, and more. The 11th Annual Rotary Central Health Check in conjunction with the Health Services Authority. Saturday, March 4. Save this date that could save your life. Rotary, all the good you imagine.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares are now on sale from just $296 CI round trip. In just 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 4th to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
Ouch! It's hard to expect a good day after a bad night's sleep. Take advantage of Brand Source Home Gallery's Sleep Sale. Save up to 40% plus free delivery on Tempur-Pedic and Silly mattresses. Insomnia is bad for your health, so start sleeping better with the Brand Source Home Gallery 40% off Sleep Sale. Hurry! Sale ends Saturday, March 11th. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 949-5211.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once, but you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Before I pass the mic over to my guest this morning, we have another birthday greeting here. Birthday greetings going out to Mr. Vince Chin, whose birthday is today. Greetings are coming from your sisters, Pat, Sherry Ann, Anna, also your brother, Victor, and they're hoping that you have a good day, have a wonderful birthday today as well. So, folks, it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Miss Teresa Pitcairn. Sometimes you hear her voice on the radio. Sometimes you see her in the studio as well. Probably not as often in the studio, but certainly hear her voice on the radio and also in the studio with us, Dr. Steve McField. So, folks, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
So, without any further ado, thank you so much for that very heartwarming introduction, OC. And I know the time that Steve and I have this morning is pretty short, so I'm just going to jump right into it. For some time, Steve and I have been talking about appearing on the show and having some introspective discussions about how Caymanians see themselves and why. And that's a broad brush analysis. But I have been fortunate to be a part of the Committee for the Promotion of Research of Cayman Scholarship, who introduced Dr. McKenna Scott last evening, where she provided us with a summary of her thesis. And one, she is amazing, and two, she is from no other than the district of Bontown. I gotta give us our props. and the attendees were amazing. They were when we looked at when I was able to look at some of the people who were listening in, we had some 106 persons that were tuning in, and we don't know how many people were listening in from on the Facebook, but some of the issues that she touched on, very, very sensitive stuff, which invariably tend to make some people very uncomfortable. But she was brave enough to raise them and have the discussion. And she invited us to consider how Caymanians view themselves, whether or not we live in a paradise, what does paradise mean to people, and, whether or not Caymanians have any interest in self-determination. And what came through from some of these questions that she raised, and I have some notes that I made while I was listening to her last evening, was that some 60% of the persons that she interviewed had zero interest in even understanding our past or colonial history, how it actually impacts the way we behave today. When we looked at some of the questions about where we stand where we stack up in our community, because some of the comments that were raised by some of the interviewees were, well, we're here, paradise, but paradise for whom? Certainly not for us. And of course, one of the notes that I made last evening as I observed that comment was, when we had the Caymanian Protection Law, Caymanians were deemed xenophobic, too nationalistic. And so even then, when persons who were sufficiently intelligent raised these issues, and Caymanians who had a willingness to talk about how this would impact them, people in leadership didn't even, folks in leadership did not perhaps give that as much primacy as perhaps they could have. The other issue, when I heard some of the commentary coming out about not having an interest in understanding the relationship between Cayman and the UK as a dependent territory, one of the comments that I made for myself was, well, let's take it right to the very top. The governor and our premier actually decides what goes on the cabinet paper. And if, for example, leadership, who we elect, because no one elected the governor, and the fact that we still have, and let me just say this from the very beginning, this is not, the comments that I'm making is not about personal issues that I may or may not have. These are just facts, right? That's all there is. And so when you have a country where what policies is decided is made between your governor and people who you elect, and what if the governor's interest or views are inconsistent or diametrically opposed to what our politicians believe to be important, and we authorize these politicians to introduce policies that's going to make things that are in our better interest to make those decisions, you go right to the top, right? And the third comment that I'll raise, because I started to talk about it with Dr. C, was someone raised the comment about what is the role of the church in all of this. And I thought no one other than Dr. Steve could actually touch that, and I'd just pass the mic over to him.
Well, it's very obvious that the role of the church has diminished significantly in these, I would say, these modern days. Remember now that the colonial church also had some flaws in it. The colonial church also had some deep discriminatory flaws in it. And the church was also the bulwark between the colonial system, the colonial masters, and also the masters of people. It was the church that was the referee between the government of the colonial government and the people. And of course, the church had their favorites. I mean, even physically in the church, there was discrimination of where you could sit, where certain people could sit, where people of color could sit, and where people of color couldn't sit. Who was invited to all of the social functions that the government put on? It was the church that had was given the power to invite people to their social dances when a governor would visit the country or worship would come in, and so forth. And in those places, you didn't see any colored people invited there, except maybe for someone who was working in the government as a civil servant, and so. And today, when you look at the church, when I was growing up, there were two churches in the Cayman Islands. Really, there was the Presbyterian Church, and there was the Church of God Chapel. And now, how many churches you see? And why is it that we had the proliferation of those other churches? Have we perused that? Why is it that we have so many denominations now, other than the two that were dominant when I was growing up in the 1940s and 50s? That is something that you have to look after. So the role of the church has completely diminished, and the role of the church now has given away now to big money, to big power, because the church now was the arbiter between, like I say, between the government and the people, and it set the social norms of the people. But that church had lost its social power. Because now there are different people who have come into the country and have set the social norms that are driven by the economic power that they carry, and so everything is completely different now.
Yeah, I guess the church participated in shaping the kind of community that we have today, given their power and strength, as you say, as the entity or institution that was like a referee between community and business. One of the concerns,
and don't forget, most of the churches in those days were run by the people who had the economic and political power.
and that's the point.
So and they drove the educational system as well at that point in time, because most schools at that point in time, were church-based.
So they shaped that's what I'm getting at. How, I guess the person is asking that question about the role of the church and how it shaped who we are today, and you can see how that carried through to the community that we have today.
I would say the short answer to that, it had a significant impact. Significant impact.
Yeah. One of the other prevailing questions consistent question that one would ask coming out of the commentary from the persons who were invited to participate was the role of Caymanians today in the workplace. So on the one hand, they don't have an interest in understanding our Constitution, why we have the Constitution that we have, why we have a dependent territory. And they don't see how that links to their economic situation today, where someone just sent me, someone who is listening to the show said, the Cayman Islands today is like a towering condo building where the wealthy, I'm just going to read as this comes in, where the wealthy white elites live in the penthouse suites. The wannabe upper middle classes, foreigners who made their wealth here, are in the upper stories, and beneath them are some rich Caymanians who cater to them all on the ground floor, leaving the Indians, the Filipinos, and Jamaicans in the kitchen, doing all the landscaping, security, and septic work for our system. That is
that sums it up.
And I did ask the individual whether or not they had if they were averse to my actually calling this out, and they said fine, just read it.
Okay, great. That's a good point for us to take our break for our 8 o'clock news, folks. When we return, the conversation with Ms. Teresa Pitcairn and Dr. Steve Macfield will continue, so don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 7:59.
At Priced Right, spending less on everyday products is easy.
Spend less on office supplies, tools, and automotive products.
Spend less on groceries, fresh produce, and meat.
Spend less on electronics, TVs, and speakers.
Spend less on home furnishings, beauty products, and apparel.
At Priced Right, we believe you can live better for less.
To start saving, visit us at the Airport Center in Georgetown or at Republic's Plaza in West Bay.
For more info, visit pricedright.ky. Live better for less at Priced Right.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm April Cummings. Premier the Honorable Wayne Panton speaks to what he'd like to see the sexual harassment bill accomplish.
It is my hope for the future that we will see a Cayman that is free from sexual harassment, a future where the act of violating a fellow human being is a thing of the past, A future where increased awareness and education of impacts on victims is prevalent, and a future where speaking out or reporting incidents to the relevant authorities is never an afterthought or explicitly avoided out of fear.
Audio there courtesy of CIG-TV. At the Business and Professional Women's Club this week, the Premier says it is also important to ensure that Cayman as a government and civil society continues to be forward-thinking. The draft sexual harassment bill has been published as a white paper for public consultation now through April 15th. You can view the bill and other information, including how to respond, at gov.ky/sexual harassment. Following an open competition chaired by His Excellency Governor Martin Roper and Commander Robert Scotland of the Cayman Islands Coast Guard, Colonel Roger Carter from the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force has been appointed the commanding officer of the Cayman Islands Regiment, succeeding Lieutenant Colonel Simon Watson. Colonel Carter will assume the position next month. Local activist group Amplify Cayman releases a statement about plans that would extend the east-west arterial through part of the wetlands. Radio Cayman's Shanda Gallego has more.
In an open letter released Thursday, Amplify Cayman says they are pro-sustainable development, not an anti-development, recognizing that a, quote, balance needs to be struck whereby socioeconomic needs are met within the constraints of our natural resources. Amplify Cayman says alternative solutions to road development through the central mangrove wetlands are supported. They cite such solutions include those noted in the National Roads Authority's EIA tour, as well as those in a transport review by Ardent Consulting. One of the alternatives mentioned in the Ardent Consulting report, they say, is a road known as BP40, gazetted in 1979, which would go along the southern coast of Grand Cayman from Pedro Castle Road through Beach Bay and into Boddentown to Mans Road, and would include an access point near Hocking Moor Drive to accommodate commuters from Lookout Gardens. Amplify Cayman says BP40 would be more environmentally considerate, as the terrain in this part of the island is dry forest on porous limestone, factors they say would greatly mitigate flooding in nearby areas during heavy rains and storm seasons. Amplify Cayman says BP40 would be a solution that balances ecological sensitivity with development. To develop roads in our wetlands, Amplify Cayman says, shows a disregard for negative environmental and socio-economic impacts and is in, quote, direct conflict with the 2001 Environment Charter, our Constitutional Bill of Rights, the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, internationally recognized best practice for climate action, and One Planet Living principles. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
That's your local news. I'm April Cummings. Now to the BBC for stories making headlines around the world.
BBC News with Danielle Yawowiecka. The Belarusian Nobel Peace Prize winner Ales Bialyatsky has been sentenced to 10 years in jail. The 60-year-old was on trial along with two other members of the human rights group Vyasna. He'd been charged with financing a protest group. The head of Russia's Wagner Group has claimed that its forces now almost totally surround the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. Yevgeny Prigozhin said there was now only one route out of the city. Foreign ministers from the US, India, Japan and Australia have said they're extremely concerned by the militarization of disputed areas in the East and South China Seas. The ministers' statement after talks in Delhi is seen as a thinly veiled reference to actions by Beijing. The Swedish telecoms company Ericsson has said it will pay a $207 million fine for not disclosing to the US authorities an internal investigation relating to suspected bribes paid to the Islamic State group in Iraq. The Colombian President Gustavo Petro has called for protesters in the Amazon to release more than 80 police officers and oilfield workers. Community leaders seized the hostages after a policeman and a civilian were killed in clashes. Police officers in Greece have raided the station where two trains collided on Tuesday night, killing 57 people. Reports suggest police seized files from the station. And that's the latest BBC World News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com. Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walker's Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares now on sale from just $296 CI round trip. In less than 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by tomorrow, March 4th, to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or contact your travel agent or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
105.3 Breeze FM live. Now it's a man Bushman representing for 105.3 Breeze FM.
Hey, this is DJ Lynn. Join me Sundays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Breeze 105.3 for Beach and Reggae Sundays. Whether you're out in a boat, in the backyard, or simply on the beach catching some sun, it's the perfect way to unwind for the weekend as the sun sets on our beautiful Caribbean Sea. Join us this Sunday from 2 p.m. on Breeze 105.3 Beach and Reggae Sundays. The Ministry of Education invites eligible Caymanians to apply for an Education Council Local Scholarship for the 2023-2024 academic year. To apply for a local scholarship or learn more about various scholarship offerings, please visit the Scholarship Secretariat Unit's website at www.moescholarships.gov.ky. Applications close on Sunday, April 30th, 2023. Brought to you by the Ministry of Education.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 80 degrees. Relative humidity is 71%. The barometric pressure is 29.88 inches and rising. The wind is out of the southeast at 10 knots. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopsis indicate fresh southeasterly winds and rough seas are expected over the next 24 hours across the Cayman area as the pressure gradient tightens over the northwest Caribbean. Now the forecast for today and tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures today will be in the mid-80s and will fall to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be southeast at 15 to 20 knots, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet. Small craft should exercise caution over open waters for today and tonight as well. High tide will be in a few minutes at 8:15, low tide this afternoon at 2:33, and a high tide again tonight at 7:49. The sun will set this evening at 6:30 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:43. And the outlook is calling for slight to moderate easterly winds and seas by tomorrow night as the pressure gradient weakens across the Cayman area. That's the very latest on your weather report.
Hey, Bill, glad to see you back in the office.
Who?
Bill.
Oh, sorry. I think you're mistaking me for someone else.
Tom.
Nope.
Jack.
No.
Alex.
No. Want me to just tell you?
Nope, I got this, George.
No, you don't. Still not me.
Adam.
Not even close, man.
We're like a coworker that didn't forget your name. CG Britcay. Good like that.
Okay, good to see you, Mike Johnson.
It's Mordecai.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking. Change your life. Practicing forgiveness is a healthy habit.
As pastor and best-selling author Gary Chapman wrote in his book, The 5 Love Languages, How to Express Heartfelt Commitment to Your Mate, forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a commitment. It is a choice to show mercy, not to hold the offense up against the offender. Forgiveness is an expression of love.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. Encourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning. Let's take a look at traffic. Coming from the east, heavy traffic on the Linford Pearson Highway and coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. Traffic is steady coming off of the Linford Pearson Highway and Agnes Way. And steady traffic on North Sound Road in both directions. And busy traffic coming off the Esley Tibbetts Highway heading towards the Butterfield Roundabout. And traffic heading towards the Industrial Park area is steady as well. Slight delays expected. As we look to Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic is moderate in both directions, as well as coming from the West Bay 4-way stop. No issues on Edward Street as traffic is light to moderate, as well as on Owen Roberts Drive. And coming from the West Bay 4-way stop, traffic is flowing moderately. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. Remember, click it or ticket.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce. All piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning, everyone. Hello? Hello? Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, I see we have just about everyone, and of course, Tom drops off, as per usual. Let's just wait a minute here. He always comes right back, and we're almost ready, and... oh, whoever's dog that is, please go on mute. Why won't it let me share my screen? Okay, looks like we're ready to start.
We're like a video conference with no technical issues. CG Britcay. Good like that.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach. Is your child Caymanian? Did you know you need an official letter issued by Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman, also known as WORK, acknowledging the child's right to be Caymanian, to apply for ECAP funding, Education Council scholarships, and government schools. Reach out to work for a letter now. The application periods for all three open soon. Brought to you by the Ministry of Education.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Before I pass the mic back over to my guests in the studio, Ms. Theresa Pitcairn and Dr. Steve McPhail, we have another birthday greeting here. Mr. Owen Lawrence celebrating a birthday today, and happy birthday greetings are coming from his loving wife. So Mr. Owen Lawrence celebrating a birthday today. Ms. T, back over to you.
Just to reiterate what we started with at the top of the hour, the conversation that we're having this morning comes out of the discussion that Dr. McKenna Scott's thesis presented us to consider, and I am a member of the Committee for the Promotion of Research Cayman, for Caymanian scholarship and so on, which is designed to deepen critical thinking and add to the growing body of academic literature. One of the, and her questions surround the way in which Caymanians think about themselves, what values actually shape and guide how we see ourselves. And you will have probably heard me speak to this on another talk show when I spoke about the incongruous nature of symbols and images and how they actually shape our thinking of ourselves. And I said that after 300 years, when Barbados was part of that hub of transatlantic slavery, that they decided not only to become independent, but to become a republic where they are now governed with a head of state, Dame Sandra Mason, who's 72 years old, because they felt that at this particular point in time in their history, they wanted to see someone that represented them, that looked like them. And this is not obviously anything pejorative about having the Queen officially removed as their head of state, or a queen who will now be succeeded by her son. When you listen to some of the comments that came out of Dr. McKenna's research, it was evident that Caymanians, like I said, were unable to show how our history actually dictated where we are today. They did not see the connection between the role of the church, as Dr. Steve just pointed out, as being that referee between state and the economy. They did not understand why they are not regarded with the same respect in the workplace, especially in the offshore industry. No cognizance was given to the role of important legislation like the Caymanian Protection Law. Why, for example, that was so important, and why folks saw that as us being xenophobic when we had an interest in talking about what is important to us. So trying to delineate how our history shapes who we are today is very important. But it is now evident, I'm hoping, for all to see that this can't be done without a proper education. Now, historically, Caymanians have viewed persons like Dr. Steve, Dr. Roy, myself, as educated idiots. And one wonders how we have to flesh that out to understand why is it when conversations arise, which invites us to be introspective and look at who we are and the kind of questions that we ask today, why is it we land in a place that is usually Eurocentric and not with the Caribbean and some of the views that they have. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and I'll segue into a comment that was made yesterday when I attended the Chamber of Commerce's meeting at which the Deputy Premier was in attendance, and people from work, Mr. Jeremy Scott and others. And one of the questions, I really only went to raise one question, which was whether or not we have an education system now that works with work, that works with the recruiters, so that when our students leave the high school, when they go to get, they're going to universities and so on, that we have some data which actually includes all of these students, so that when decisions are being made by, for example, the permanent residence boards and other boards that determine who gets employment, that we have a system in place that allows us to look at the data to determine who was actually contacted before the jobs were given. And with that, I'll just segue into Dr. Steve, as I know he chairs one of these boards as well.
Okay, Doc?
Well, we don't have that kind of data. I don't know, because I'm not on the work board, WRC board. I'm on the status permanent residency board. So all that information comes down below before it gets to us. I'm only dealing with the applications after the work permit period has ended, or when people are married to Caymanians and so forth. It seems to me that if this is what I understand, I stand to be contradicted, but this is what I understand, that WORC is processing at least 1,000 work permits a month. That's a lot of work permits. At least 1,000 work permits per month.
And that would be initial grants, temporaries, renewals as
Everything,
well, possibly.
yes, 1,000 a month.
Okay.
And when you look at the amount of work permits now, it's getting near than 35,000 now. 35,000 work permits. And the statistics show that we are some 80,000 people now in the population. And that depends if you're counting all the work permit holders as residents, as part of the population. I think we worked that out some time ago, Mr. For the record, that would have been something like 43% of the workforce of the population now is our work permit holders. When you look at that, and you see that the other 47% of the population are older Caymanians,
57%,
and children, and those people who are residents here who don't have to work, and so forth. It paints a bleak picture. It paints a bleak picture, and then when I have read the statistic that shade that in the next 2 years, the population is going to reach 100,000 people. When you bring all of that into view, with the Immigration Transition Act 2021 revision that we have today, and we see all the loopholes in it, how people are able to open the gate and just walk in, because the law allows them to do so. It is a task that I tell you, every Thursday when we have meetings, that we try to hold the gate and tight as much as possible, but it's very, very difficult for us to do so.
Yeah, because you're constrained by provisions of the law and the regulations.
And the regulations.
Yeah.
Just for instance, just let me give you an example of what Section 40 says. Section 40 says that subject to this, the holder of a residence and employment rights certificate who is the spouse of civil partner for Caymanian or has obtained a residence and employment rights certificate as a result of his or her marriage to a civil partner with the holder of a residence and employment rights certificate shall forfeit his or her rights certificate if the holder fails within any of the provisions of Section 51, the holder's spouse civil partner ceases to be a Caymanian or to be of residency, and within 10 years of the marriage, the civil partnership or the marriage or the civil partnership is dissolved or annul, and the holder ceases to be legally an ordinary resident of the Cayman Islands, or the holder and his or her spouse or civil partner are living apart, under the decree of competent court or under a deed of separation, or in the circumstances where in the opinion of the board or the director of works, the marriage of civil partnership has irretrievably broken down. That's fine. And then you go on to subsection 2. A person who has forfeited his or her rights under section 1 that I just read, and is or was the spouse of a civil partner for Caymanian, and is the parent of a Caymanian child, may apply to the board or the director of works for a continuation of the residence and employment rights certificate until the child reaches the age of 18 years, or where the child is enrolled in a tertiary education until the child completes his or her education or has reached the age of 24, whichever happens earlier. That is so ridiculous, because once the person loses the residency, for instance, he's married to a Caymanian, he goes on house an affair with another Caymanian woman, and the marriage breaks down because of that, and then his Caymanian spouse divorces him or her. All he has to do is to have a child by the other person who's not within the wedlock situation, not in the marriage situation, and he's entitled to get permanent residence to continue. It doesn't say here whether we have to take into account.
Is he entitled to get it or entitled to apply for it?
Apply for it.
Okay.
And you know what happens if we refuse? They're going to say, the courts are going to say, or the other people are going to say, that he has a right to family life because he has Cayman connections.
Now, what would happen? Let's put another incident into this scenario. What if he had a child from the previous marriage?
That is where it should be.
Yes.
And that's where it should be. It should not be from some other third party. It should be from the previous marriage that he has the child from.
So that has actually opened up a loophole for them to exploit.
All they have to do, a man go knock up a Caymanian girl. He has a child, or a woman has to go and get a child by a Caymanian man. And we have to consider that. It doesn't say whether we should take into account whether or not they're maintaining the child or not. It doesn't say that, and it doesn't say so. But you understand the intention of the legislation would be that the child can grow up knowing both parents, have been active in the child's life and maintaining the child. That's the reason why they say until the child reaches 18 years old or tertiary education. But sometimes they don't even visit the child, and the parents of the child don't even know that they're making that application based on the fact that they have the child with that person. What can we do? The other situation we find is that people commit some of the most horrendous criminal offenses in Cayman. They spend 2 and 3 and 4 years in Northward prison, and then they walk out of Northward prison, and then they're making applications for permanent residence or the right to be Caymanian because they're married to Caymanian. And when we refuse, other institutions say that they have a right to family life. What about deportation? I mean, like, when you commit those horrible crimes against other people and gun crimes, what about the rights of the Caymanian people to protect their society?
And we see the quote-unquote mother country, the UK, now taking steps, policy decisions, as well as in law, to ensure that those persons who fall within the category that you're talking about there are deportable and are deported. Now, if the UK, being so much larger than the Cayman Islands, saying, we have to protect our communities,
yes,
then how can a little 2x4 island like the Cayman Islands absorb having criminals, convicted criminals, continue to reside with us when we already have to deal with our own, but we're now burdening our society with persons who only have a casual connection, and some people may criticize me for that, saying, well, having a child is more than casual. Well, that depends on, what you're doing for that child as well. But if you go out there and you deliberately have a child simply to exploit the system, then that's a different story. I'm told we have to take a commercial break. When we return, Ms. T, we're going to turn the mic back over to you folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough, and sore throat to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
The Oldman Bay community is advised that the Special Heritage Outreach Meeting has been moved to Thursday, March 9th at 7 p.m. at the Cradock Ebanks Centre in Northside. The event, sponsored by Cayman Crystal Caves, seeks to document the history of the 7 founding families of Oldman Bay: the Millers, the Whitakers, the McCoys, also the Rangers, the Greens, Browns, and Federicks. Persons are invited to bring photographs, stories, letters, and any mementos, and if you can provide any interviews, take a family background survey, and provide older family photos. Finger foods and refreshments will be provided. For more information, call 925-0745 or email info@caymancrystalcaves.com.
Ouch! It's hard to expect a good day after a bad night's sleep. Take advantage of Brandsour's Home Gallery's Sleep Sale. Save up to 40% plus free delivery on Tempur-Pedic and Silly mattresses. Insomnia is bad for your health, so start sleeping better with the Brandsour's Home Gallery 40% off Sleep Sale. Hurry! Sale ends Saturday, March 11th. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 949-5211.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Ms. Theresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve McPhail. One of our listeners has written and said, as we celebrate Black History Month, one of the biggest players in the Cayman's current quote-unquote slave trade is the cunning work by the large employment agencies who are now in the Cayman Islands. Most of the decision makers in these agencies are non-Caymanians. All they're interested in is getting their fees for finding workers from other countries, many of whom are cheap and of a different culture. At the same time, unemployed Caymanians are overlooked and lied to by some people in these modern-day quote-unquote slave trade organizations as well. And we do have a caller. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C.
Good morning. Good morning.
And good morning to the honorable and doctor there and the brilliant lady out of Barton Town.
There you
Good
go.
morning, Mr.
Morning.
Lord Graham.
Lord Graham. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's so many things I would like to say because there's so many topics, important topics that you guys have touched this morning. But the last one that you were talking about, separation of family, that loophole that they're using. I notice where you get work permit, people come in here working for that $6 and $7 an hour, and then the wife comes with the husband, and then they put in to bring 2 and 3 children, which we know they cannot. Cayman people cannot survive on the current situation with two kids, much less work permit. People bring in 2 and 3 children here, and then they're writing into the immigration, giving some false promises from their employer about their increase of salary, where in the first place, when they applied first, they had to give the true per hour that they were going to be paid. but all of a sudden now they jack up the price. And then there's another, if you, and they use the separation of family to get away with it. But if you're going to leave your country, that'll take you 3 and 4 days to come here and leave your kids, it was your intention in the first place to separate the family. So why would we have to make provision now for you to bring your family here, to keep your family together when it was your choice in the first place? And then there's another one where the husband will be, or the wife will be working here, and just before time for her to roll over, because it's a loophole they're using, the husband now will get a work permit, and when she's rolling over now, she get attached to his work permit, so she can continue here with the same loophole about separating the family. I don't know if you all is aware of that one.
Oh yeah, she can become a dependent of the work permit holder,
and then she stay now until his tender on the island.
Yeah, well, actually, she the person obtains a separate work permit, but it is on condition in accordance with the spouse, the other spouse's work permit. So, for example, if my permit is up, but my wife has 2 more years to go on hers, then I can apply for the continuation of my employment subject to her continued employment. What it doesn't do, though, it doesn't allow that person then to apply for permanent residence, a person whose period of time has been extended.
The person has reached the term limit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One more caller, and then we're going to, because we need to get back to the microphones, because Dr. Steve has to be in court this morning as well. So let's grab another caller, and then we're going to come back to the mics around the table. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC.
Good morning, sir.
This is Old Hill again.
Okay.
Good morning, Dr. Steve.
Good morning, sir.
I love when you come on the radio because you speak a lot of facts. But I want to say something.
And Mr. Risa Karen is there too.
Hi, sorry about that. I just turned on the radio. I didn't hear about Mrs. Teresa. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Yes. The thing about it, these laws you're all talking about, did they come in here, did they fall out of the sky? Or our own Canadian Parliament, government, or whatever they are, politicians, created these laws?
Yeah, we did. It's our law.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, why don't we get to the roots of these laws and focus on them? Who did it? Who's responsible for it? And what I would suggest, the next election, to redact these laws and fix them where we can have a good country here to live in. Because what I've seen here with the criminals, I noticed for years they will not, I can't remember the word, but expel or whatever these criminals from our country. Because if you remember, we had a government here that was focusing on 100,000 population. So we can't lose one. We don't care what he does. He could cut somebody's head off. We got to keep him here to build that population. We need to get to the root of this whole situation. And our laws did not come in here dropping out of the sky. Our own Caymanian politicians, lawmakers, put them here. And I believe with the big help of the judiciary, which is the Attorney General and the Chief Justice and whoever was part of that judiciary, that's where all of this is coming from. I believe that's my assumption. Okay.
Well, I can tell you, caller, that with respect to the law, to refining the laws and to stop and to plug in some of the loopholes that the honorable deputy premier and the minister of border control has undertaken. That we have a committee now set up that we're studying what we can do to refine the laws, and that report from that committee should be presented to the government around the end of April. I'm also the chairman of that committee, and I'm looking forward to the committee presentation of the report to the government, in which we will make some substantial recommendations for changes in the laws that we that are obtained now?
I think this country needs a reformation. That's what we need of the laws that we have made, because I'm telling you what, they are disgusting, they're draconic, and they're overburdened. Too much red tape in this country. That's on another side that I want to talk to, but not today. Okay? And people are complaining about it. They can't do business because it's too much bureaucracy. Every time they wake up in the morning, they got to put some new restriction, regulation on you to make your life hard. And we vote them in every year, every 4 years. Anyway, I stop at that. Thank you. I will keep listening on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller, for that. Ms. Susan, let's take that commercial break now, and then we're going to pass the mic back over to Ms. Teresa and Dr. Steve McPhail. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares are now on sale from just $296 CI round trip. In just 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 4th to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Ms. Teresa Kern, Dr. Steve McPhail. Folks, Mike's back over to you.
So, the minister, like the border control minister and the deputy premier, Mr. Christopher Sanders, Honorable Christopher Sanders, has been on the hot water, in hot water, I could say, or under fire from some
pressure,
under pressure, because they were saying that he's trying to stop or slow down the process of granting permanent residence and statuses, but I don't think that is so. The board is taking into account in their deliberations sustained economic growth coupled with national social stability. The board is taking into account all of the representations that we've had from Caymanian people about the social and economic discrimination that they're facing. And it has been said by people, renowned people, that social and economic discrimination undermines democracy and the processes that give it legitimacy. So what the board is doing, the board is scrutinizing every application now to make sure that when they make the decision to allow people to stay here on a permanent basis, either to work or by Caymanian status, that it is the best interest of the Caymanian people, and it is the best interest of our people. Our decisions, I would like to say, are transparent, honest, and are made in the best interest of our three islands. So that's the position that we're in now.
Question for you, Doc. Do you have all of the tools on hand for you to be able to scrutinize these applications, to do the proper due diligence that you need to do?
No, we don't have all the tools to do so, because some people are saying that their application are taking long, because for instance, when we get an application that we are scrutinizing, we have to send it down to the enforcement to investigate the background of the application, the background of the matter for us.
I think they refer to us, is it that the same thing as compliance?
Compliance. And sometimes that takes a long time to get back to us. It's not like we send it today and get it back next week. Sometimes it takes months to get back to us. And that is a area in which holds up an application. What we are asking the government, the minister, to do is to give us our own compliance investigator, our own person that is attached to the board, so that when a case comes up, we can just hand it to him and say, go out and find that and bring it back to us in a week or two. That's what we want to do. And we also want to have our own legal advisor for the board to speed up matters, because sometimes when we have to go to the Attorney General's department, that takes a time too to get a decision back from them.
But and can you explain, while you're a seasoned and a senior lawyer, you're on the board and you're chairing these boards because it calls for someone with I think in some instances within the legal profession, but you as a lawyer on that board are really not there to provide legal advice to the board.
No,
because that would be a conflict.
That's a conflict of interest. Yes. So we have to go to our attorney, which is the solicitor department, to get advice from them when we want to make a decision that we think is controversial, or it might have some legal implications. But the board, I say, and I want to reiterate, is taking into account the sustainability of the economic growth coupled with the national social stability of this country. And that is what we are going to do. And that is what we are going. It's not like before where the gates are hanging wide open and everybody can just walk in and then the consequences afterwards. We are being proactive instead of being reactive. And that is what the law calls us to do, and that's what we are doing.
Okay, Ms. T?
I would only add to the comment that Dr. Steve made. I attended the Chamber of Commerce session, as I said yesterday, and the Honorable Deputy Premier mentioned that he is aware, well, two things in general. He said that the immigration law is really designed to address people who are in breach, and unfortunately, the businesses that are actively in compliance with the law, they suffer as a result of that. And he says 90% of these applications are approved and processed in any event. But the comment that really stuck with me was when he said that you got the impression that folks are suing the immigration board about decisions that they make. And he said to the persons in attendance, well, they can sue because the Privy Council is where these decisions are going to end. So he is saying that he's in support of the mandate that he and his cabinet gave to the boards, and when they carry it out to the T, they're going to support it. So you get the impression, as I said at the beginning of the meeting about the role of our Constitution and having the what it means when we're a dependent territory, because cabinet papers that when policies are made, they're made jointly between the cabinet, the Caymanian persons who we elect, and the governor. So if there are diametrically opposed views about what is important to Cayman or not, that may not reach the cabinet paper. And I'm thinking, I don't even know whether or not some of the concerns that Dr. Steve raised actually get to make it on the cabinet paper for policy issues. And I say that as an aside. The other issue that came out of Mikana's thesis about how the Caymanian experience is framed is that idea of paradise. And many of the respondents said that, paradise for whom? But as I said previously, we don't stitch where we came from, or as the Honorable Arden McLean would say, people know the glory, but they don't know the story. So we don't manage to stitch what happened from 50 years ago, for example, when we had the protection law, which was designed to address some of these issues that we're talking about today, and how that morphed into legislation.
That was specifically designed for that, because that's why it was called the Caymanian protection law.
Yep. So today, this is now we're now seeing why it was important when the Honorable Benson Ebanks actually presented that to us 50 years ago, and the vision and prescience that he had in mind, because here we are addressing and struggling with that today because of decisions that have been made. And coming out of the commentary that Dr. Steve made, I said to myself, our population is the size of a stadium in the United States, for example, for sports. And I'm wondering now, given the ratio between Caymanians and non-Caymanians, and Steve, you were talking in the when we had the intermission about where will we be in 10 years' time when these persons now will have had the opportunity to get permanent residence and to get status, whether or not we will have the social and economic infrastructure to absorb the pressures that's coming out of these decisions. And finally, Caymanians may find themselves, and in my mind, I think for sure, as the Aborigines in Australia, trying to figure out what rights they have.
Well, it has been said in 2 years we're going to reach 100,000, and just look at the situation now. 35,000 people now on work permits. Many of them on work permits are the $4.50 an hour people, $6 an hour people. A lot of them are in that category of people. When they reach the term limit, they also are going to be eligible to apply for Caymanian status. What happens then when we start turning them down and saying that you haven't reached the number of point system, if the point system still remains as it is then? What happens then when all of these people are not being able to work in the $6 an hour category, the $4 an hour category, and they are allowed to stay? Who is going to take care of them then? Where the money is going to come from? That's what I have been asking. Where the money is going to come from to take care of all of these people who are in that category? So, is it the fact then that some people should not be able to qualify for Caymanians for permanent residence?
Well, they do it in other communities. We are the only people, as I said yesterday at the chamber. This Cayman kind is a level of confusion which just seeps into this kind of dependent way we think. And the way in which we are so pejorative about our own self and our own people. Steve, you talked about the whole issue of distrust. We don't even trust each other.
Yeah, that's right. Because that leads me into Section 16 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And it says here in Section 16(3)(b) that the Bill of Rights, the discrimination clause in the Bill of Rights, has does not apply with respect, now listen to this, to the entry into or exclusion from or the employment, engagement in any business or profession, movement or residence within the Cayman Islands of persons who are not Caymanian. So the Constitution gives us the right to regulate what those people can do. And I will go so far as to say that also gives us the right to regulate whether or not they should have a vehicle, import a vehicle in this country when they come.
Don't even go there with this thing with that.
That's what I'm saying.
That whole beautification.
So that the government does not have to go and get any advice from anybody or any consultant, because it's right here in our Constitution. That gives us the right to regulate the movement or residence or within. So if a person comes in and we grant a work permit, there are conditions that you're not able to import your own vehicle. And you're not able to go and fish and take the lobsters and the conch and stuff.
Exactly.
And you're not able to do all those things without a license from the government. So I don't understand why the government has such a problems and dealing with these things. Because it's all written there in our Constitution, very clean.
What's going to happen with us is that we're going to wait here in the Cayman Islands unfortunately until we reach the stage and the status that the American Indians found themselves in. And then we're going to start reaching out and saying, we're losing our culture, we're losing our rights. When we have an opportunity to do something about it now.
No.
The discussion is taking place. We see what is happening. Like the old proverbial saying, the writing is on the wall. Not only is it on the wall, but the writing has been interpreted. It has been interpreted. And we have that opportunity to do it. What I also want to point out is that when we look at the Caymanian Protection Law and its introduction in 1973, we were like how Canada was at a certain point where they were inviting people to come in to emigrate there because they needed it. Here in the Cayman Islands, that is what we were at that stage. But at the same time, we recognize that the allowing people to come to work and to live here was something that needed to be regulated. The reason that it needed to be regulated was because of our size, the size of our population, the fragile nature of our history, the fragile nature, of our communities. It only takes several hundred in terms of intrusion for that to change the whole makeup of Caymanian society, and we see that happening. So, like the caller said, we need to take a careful look at our legislation, and what I would say is that we need to overhaul it completely, not piecemeal, but completely.
Yes. As Steve, as you spoke, I'm reminded of a comment Steve invariably makes when we have these conversations. Cayman is not for everybody.
It's not for everyone.
It is not for everyone. I'm going to just close my commentary with, because my phone is blowing up, as you can imagine. I'm enjoying the conversation today, not to forget the loophole of one spouse going to work for government with their spouse close to roll over. The spouse in the private sector then gets an extension and applies for PR. Once the couple gets PR, then they leave the government job, enjoy the freedom to start and open their own business as Caymanians, with no history, no social integration, and so on. We as a society are so blind to how colonized we are and how we are so insistent on pandering to European imperialistic societies that we are marginalizing ourselves right out of our own country. We already don't have the infrastructure to cope with the number of people on the island, and we're routinely short of hospital beds, etc., etc., etc. People are aware, and they're really, really concerned. But the question always comes back to leadership, and education. We will have, I'm a part of a chat where you see people raising these issues, these same issues. But when every now and again, a friend of mine says that I will just check in with a comment, and I'll say something like, and where is the structure? Where's the organization? Who is going to assist in making these changes? And zero silence. Nobody. We chat, and that's what we do.
Okay. But I'm not interested in chatting anymore. I've been listening to the chatting for 40 years plus now, and it's time now they came in and stand up and do something about their position. They cannot be sitting on their porch and on their phone talking with each other about it and how bad it is. They must get up and do something about it. That's what I did in my life. I got up and did something about it in my life, and I'm trying to teach my children and grandchildren to do the same thing. And Caymanians have to actually come up and do something about it. Either they do that, or their demise is right around the corner.
Okay, folks, top of the hour headline news. When we return, the conversation with Ms. Theresa Pitcairn and Dr. Steve Macfield will continue, so please stay tuned.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. Amplify Cayman says while it opposes current plans for an east-west arterial extension that goes through parts of the central mangrove wetlands, it is not opposed to another option that would be less damaging. In a video and open letter, the grassroots organization says a road designated in 1970 called BP 40 would be a better option. In international headlines, South Carolina attorney Alex Murdaugh was convicted of murder Thursday in the shooting deaths of his wife and son, in a case that chronicled the unraveling of a powerful Southern family with tales of privilege, greed, and addiction. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before finding Murdaugh guilty of 2 counts of murder at the end of a 6-week trial that pulled back the curtain on the once prominent lawyer's fall from grace. 54-year-old Murdaugh faces 30 years in prison without parole for each murder charge when court is scheduled to reconvene for sentencing this morning. After the verdict was read, Judge Clifton Newman denied a defense motion to declare a mistrial, saying, quote, "The evidence of guilt is overwhelming." A Belarusian court today sentenced Ales Bialetsky, Belarus's top human rights advocate and one of the winners of the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize, to 10 years in prison. Bialetsky and 3 other figures of the Vyazna Human Rights Center he founded were convicted of financing violations, violating public order and smuggling, according to Vyazna. He and 2 associates were arrested and jailed after massive protests over a 2020 election that gave authoritarian President Alexander Lukashenko a new term in office. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
HSA's cardiology clinic is now located at Smith Road Medical Center. Our cardiology team provides expert care and treatment for heart conditions such as coronary artery disease, heart failure, arrhythmias, hypertension, congenital heart diseases, among others. The new location offers state-of-the-art cardiac diagnostic testing, including echocardiograms, ECGs, and stress tests. To contact, call 949-8600. At HSA, your heart matters to us.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Both Dr. Steve McPhail and Ms. Teresa Pitcairn had to leave us because they have other commitments, and Dr. McPhail has to be in court for 9:30 as well. So we want to thank them for generating that conversation that was taking place. And we know that some of you wanted to call in. This will give you your opportunities now, despite the fact that they are not here. But you certainly will have the opportunity to voice your opinion, ask questions, and if I can't answer them, then we'll see how we can get those answers for you. Meanwhile, one of our listeners has written and said, nothing will change until we have enough courage to address the absolute sense of entitlement by all expats / foreigners / work permit holders. Start saying no. They have friends here or overseas and believe they too can demand jobs. Then if they get a job, they demand promotions, then they get PR or status and demand their rights are greater than anyone else's. Start saying no regardless of nationality or socio-economic status. The databases are full. We need enforcement by saying no to the sense of entitlement across the board, not just the sector some Caymanians feel or know their families want to, or in which they can prosper. Speak to all who feel entitled. Look at our civil service. How can we have so many expats in legal or accounting positions? It's not only private sector where we have to address hiring practices, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to talk about that as well, because while we criticize institutions including government, we still need to look on the other side of the coin as well. And the big elephant in the room, the question, are we or a few questions. Number one, are we preparing ourselves in the way that we need to ensure that we can qualify and we can, I use this word sparingly, compete, because I don't think that we should have to compete with others. Caymanians should have to compete with others for jobs here in the Cayman Islands. But bear in mind now, at one point in time, even our government took that approach. Remember once they had these psychometric exams and stuff like that, psychometric tests that you had to take, and some saw that as a government imposing additional conditions on Caymanians, for jobs. But, are we preparing, ourselves for it? Do we have the proper educational institutions in place? I would speak, for instance, I'm sure when you look at law firms, one of the largest law firms, they're talking about 400 staff members, including lawyers. So I'm not sure how many lawyers. Those lawyers need legal secretaries, right? At one point in time, we had a secretarial school in the Cayman Islands called Sylvia Gill. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Whether it was Sylvia Gill or Sylvia Gill, I believe it was, that secretaries were trained. Do we still have things like that in place? My sister attended, I forget what it was called, down at the base there, where and mostly attended by women who were taught secretarial skills as well. Do we have those institutions in place? So we have to address this issue from various positions, not just the fact that people are taking advantage and of what we have here and coming here, but we have to seriously ask ourselves the questions: are we properly preparing our people as well? We have a few callers. Let's go to the phone lines. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. Am I on?
Yes, you are. Good morning. How are you, my friend?
Well, good morning. I would have loved to call when the two esteemed lady and gentlemen were there, but they had to go. But you are equally esteemed, so I still feel good that I have to call.
So, thank you.
You see, obviously, I watched the lecture last night and I listened to it. And I listened to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
so did I.
Following, yes. And then I've been listening to Ms. T in particular, going to the other shows as well, and just following up this. And you listened to a PhD talking, okay? You listened to a young PhD talking. She gave it. She wasn't biased. She gave the facts. She did what PhD people who are worth their salt did.
Mm-hmm.
And when I you see, at the end of it, I said, okay. A lot of things stood out for me. One of them is one which you've touched on this morning, where she said, when they asked people, how many of you think that independence should be the final goal of the Cayman Islands? And I think about 60% said it should not be the final goal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you see, that question was significant because it didn't say it should be the goal in the next 10 to 15 years. They just said should it be the final goal.
Mm-hmm.
And 60% say, in other words, we are happy to remain a colony. Now, that is a problem. And every time you see when this issue arises, people talk about, look at Jamaica. You see, Jamaica, it went down because they got independence. Okay. That is very simplistic, because one thing that Jamaicans have, and a lot of other people who've got independence, they have got self-determination.
Mm-hmm.
And every society eventually finds its equilibrium. In Europe, they were fighting for years and years. And then they found out, look, we have to stop this war. They put together the EU, which was formed around Germany and France. And now they've got control. They've never had like a major war, but they've had the smaller ones and so on. So when people talk like that, it is because they are being simplistic. Let me put it bluntly, OC. The UK is not evil, but it looks after itself. And if tomorrow it were to find that it is not convenient for it to remain in the Cayman Islands, they will say, sorry, we are gone. And you can go to the airport and sing God Save the Queen in the best harmony you can ever sing. They will never come back if it doesn't suit them. And so long.
But when you say the UK, you're talking about the government and their control over us?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, well, you know, what I would say, and you know, sorry for interrupting, but what I would say that as far as the Cayman Islands is concerned, the UK at this point in time does not have a whole lot of skin in the game. That ended a long time ago when they stopped aiding us. What the UK is concerned about is now their image that they need to protect because we are an overseas territory in the event that something happens in the Cayman Islands that embarrasses them. So it's more an image perspective than anything else.
That is true, Ossie, and while we are on the subject, the UK is in breach. This Caymanian friend of mine pointed this out to me a long time ago. The UK, as it is in breach of Article, I think it's 73 of the UN Charter, which says that where a country has got like an overseas territory, the interests of the people in the overseas territory should be paramount. And yet the UK has enacted the exact opposite in Section 81 and 125, which Mikana touched on again last night. You know, they have said that our interest, meaning the interest of the UK, is paramount. They are in breach of that. And people have to understand that ultimately the policies in the Cayman Islands, most of them are controlled by the local people. Like Dr. Steve has pointed out today, the provision on discrimination, to say, well, look, we can discriminate. But he has been saying this for years. But why haven't we done that? We haven't done that because there is somebody in the local community in the UK who it doesn't suit, and they are ready to give some nonsense legal advice to say you can't do it. So to me, at the end of the day, what we need in Cayman, it is accountability. The kids need to, for example, that presentation yesterday needs to be reduced into a civics course.
Yes.
So that the kids are not indoctrinated. You see, the kids in the Cayman Islands are indoctrinated not so much by what they are told, but by what they are not told. I hope that this new committee, which Dr. Steve is chairing and which is making recommendations, I hope that most of those recommendations will be taken up, because otherwise it is almost getting too late. Let me just leave it there, OC. This is a very, very long subject, but I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, caller, for that. We still have two other callers on hold. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue, so please stay tuned.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. Kirk's Home Center.
Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have 3 callers on hold. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Osi. It's me again.
Good morning again.
Osi, I think we need to get out the myth of saying once our elected members get elected and we're not enchanted with what they're doing, we always threaten that, oh, yeah, you wait till next election, I'm not going to vote for them again. We need to start holding our elected members accountable from the second day that they sit in that position. We need to hold them accountable. I have never heard an intellectual dialogue that they display on the radio or in person, like the one that you and your 2 guests displayed this morning. That
Thank you.
dialogue was at the highest level, using the highest law in the land. It was all based around the Constitution with facts, even though some things in the Constitution I think should be amended. There's a few things in there because I got my right on my desk here to also. Dr. McField made sure long time ago that I got my Constitution because I would always run to him and ask him things. So that dialogue this morning, I want to tell you, was at the highest level, and it showed that we don't have to be scared of being prejudiced of any decisions that we make concerning us, the people of the Cayman Islands, because we are protected by the Constitution. But they overlook those sections of the Constitution and they're afraid to display it. So why would we have it in our Constitution if we're not going to practice what it says? So I want to congratulate you this morning on that dialogue that you all had this morning, and that need to continue with those 2 individuals.
Okay, thank you.
And I like the way Miss Teresa touched on what the older politicians said back in the day. Cayman is not for everybody. We're inviting you here, but remember now, it's not for everybody. We should choose who come here and who don't come here. Okay?
Okay.
You have a good day.
Thank you. You do the same, my friend. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Osi.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning. Good. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Yeah, so I see you were talking about the subject of the cars being imported and the immigration work permit. Is it a matter that the government has become too reliant on the monies they receive from importing cars and work permits that they can't stop this influx from happening?
I don't believe so. I think at this point in time, we haven't heard this government or the previous government say that, there's a financial squeeze in the Cayman Islands. As a matter of fact, in almost all respects, they have seen their revenues increase as opposed to decrease. So I don't believe that there's a reliance on the importation, the fees that they receive from the importation, of vehicles. One would argue that at the end of the day, it's probably costing more, because when it comes to the disposal and the environmental damage and all of that, if you were to put that in monetary terms, it may be even more difficult.
Well, when you import a car, you have to pay a disposal fee as well.
But that money is, I don't believe that money is ring fenced in such a way that it is put in a separate, like an escrow account or whatever it is, to deal with the disposal later on, whether or not it be exporting the materials or whatever. I'm not sure that money has been ring fenced.
Well, you mentioned that there has been an increase in monies but wouldn't that make sense if there were more cars being increased and more work permits being granted, that the resources would be, the funding would be increasing on a yearly basis because of this huge influx of cars being imported.
Yeah.
And apparently, since they stopped the garbage collection fees, they have become more dependent on work permits and the importation of
Caller, when you look at garbage collection fees, they're minimal. That is why they could afford to dispense of it. It was probably costing them more to try to even collect the fees than it was to just simply say, we're not going to charge you for it, but we'll tack those fees on to something else, like maybe the import duties or whatever.
Okay, well, I'll ask another question. Because we all see that there's a problem with the cars being imported, too many cars coming in, and we should regulate who can bring in cars and also the work permits. I always say it's too easy for people to relocate here because a country that has as much resources and land infrastructure as the U.S., it's very hard to go and live in the U.S. You can't just pick up and move there like how you can come and move to here. A small island like Cayman doesn't have the resources. Why do we make it more, regulated on how hard it is to come here? And if we do so, and the work permit decrease and the money we make from work permits decrease, then what is going to fill that void? Where are we going to get resources from to fill that void? Do we need to implement a tax system here, or that's the next question.
Well, caller, that there has been this debate in terms of whether or not tourism or financial services bring in more revenue for the Cayman Islands. I believe we've settled on the fact that now, especially with the decline in the cruise industry as well, that financial services brings in most revenue. But bear in mind what I said earlier. The Cayman Islands government at this point in time is not in a financial crunch. Even with 2 years of COVID, they're not in a financial crunch. When we look at the employment situation, the reason that we have to have work permits, and this everyone will admit, we do not have enough workers here in the Cayman Islands to sustain the job market that is out there. Right? We don't have that. What we need to do, two things, amongst others, that we need to do is we need to ensure that those persons who are coming to work in the Cayman Islands, that they're coming to do so, and at some point in time that they will leave. We cannot place the burden on our shoulders that we have an obligation to allow every person who comes to work in the Cayman Islands to be able to remain here on a permanent basis, acquire citizenship, residency, and citizenship. We cannot allow that to happen. So we have to ensure that we draft our laws, we craft our legislation in such a way that we do not overwhelm this country by the number of persons that we're allowing to live here permanently. You think that your people are having difficulty finding, suitable places to live now and affordable places to live now? The more that we allow to reside here on a permanent basis, the more dire that situation is going to become.
I agree with you on that, OC. But the next question that will arise from some employers is, for example, if I have a staff member and he's been with me for 5 years, I send him away to do training for this position that he's in, several times over the course of those 5 years, and then he gets rolled over on the 7th year. Then now I have to start that process over again with a new person. That would be challenging for that employer.
That's a strong argument if the population of the Cayman Islands was stagnant, right? But I worked in government. I was chief immigration officer. I was the cabinet secretary. Eventually, I couldn't be there forever. I was replaced by someone. So our population is not going to remain stagnant in such a way that if you have a person, and remember now we introduced this whole issue of key employee, and we had to abandon that because that was being, abused as well. But the whole issue of succession, our Cayman Islands population is not going to remain stagnant. We have, I don't know the number, but we have kids coming out of school every year. We have them graduating from college every year. So that is a weak argument, in my opinion, caller.
Yes, I agree with you. I just.
Yeah, no, being a devil's advocate, and I appreciate that because that brings these things out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the solution would be because we often talk about, something needs to be done. We need to get up as Caymans and go out there like Dr. Mark Field just mentioned, and I agree with him. But where do we start? That's the question.
Well, where we start, caller, is that we have to ensure that we craft our immigration law, that it protects Caymanians, it protects Caymanian society, and not at the expense of allowing us to be overwhelmed by non-Caymanians. I'm going to ask you to leave us there, caller, so we can grab another caller before we go to the commercial break. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record. No one is there? Okay. Why don't we? Okay, I'll share this WhatsApp message. This person said, "Good morning, Mr. OC, and your two visionary and bold guests. You are right. We need 100% overhaul of our laws, immigration laws. We need to restrict permanent residence and also abolish Caymanian status except for residency, where at least one grandparent must be Caymanian born or except by an established marriage to a Caymanian, period." Do we have the caller now, Ms. Susan? Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'd like to offer a bit of feedback on the immigration solution situation.
Sure.
In 1988, I went to Barbados, and one of the first things immigration gave to me on a student visa was I would be there for a maximum of 4 years before having to leave the island. We have this 7-year grant, and I call it a grant because that's exactly what it is. I think that's far too long for anyone to remain here on a work permit. 4 years is more than sufficient for any employer to find or train a local person to take any post here. And that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you very much for your 2 cents. It may have been 2 cents, but it's worth $1 million. Thank you very much for that as well. Do we have any other callers on hold? No callers on hold. Why don't we take that commercial break now, Ms. Susan? Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy to understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
Ouch! It's hard to expect a good day after a bad night's sleep. Take advantage of Bransaw's Home Gallery's Sleep Sale. Save up to 40% plus free delivery on Tempur-Pedic and Silly mattresses. Insomnia is bad for your health, so start sleeping better with the Bransaw's Home Gallery 40% off Sleep Sale. Hurry! Sale ends Saturday, March 11th. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 949-5211.
You know what I love to do with my family? Go fishing. I can put the bait on and cast and reel the line all by myself. My mommy and daddy say when they were little, there were plenty more fish to catch, but now there are lots more people fishing, so it's harder to find them. That's why we have marine parks now. They set some areas aside so the fish there can have babies and grow bigger. Then they swim out to other areas where I can catch them. Having the marine parks means there will still be fish there when I'm grown up and fishing with a family of my own.
For more info, download the Cayman DOE app or visit doe.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Before we go to the next caller, just want to point out that one message that we received earlier, the person wanted to correct something that they wrote, and when they said we need to restrict permanent residence and also abolish Caymanian status except for, and at that point they had said residency, but what they really mean is except for descent, where at least one grandparent must be Caymanian born or accept established marriage. Now, again, before we go to the caller, I just want to present another side to this as well. Yes, we criticize our politicians because they make promises, especially during campaign time before the election, and they make promises that they sometimes can't keep. And it depends, on what part of the gallery that they are trying to cater to. Don't underestimate the influence and the power that business owners have in the Cayman Islands, whether it be law firms, whether it be retailers, wholesalers, real estate people, a tremendous amount of influence. So and you have some politicians who are attempting to please everyone, and that cannot happen. What we have not had in the Cayman Islands for a long time is a true champion of the Caymanian people. We lost that when we lost Mr. Ormond Laura Panton, because he was the man who at that point in time was seeking for full internal self-government for the Cayman Islands, which he was unable to achieve at that point in time. We need a true champion for Caymanians who, not looking at how many terms that they're going to be going to be able to serve in our legislative assembly or parliament, whatever we want to call it, but who is prepared to put everything else on the line and be a true champion for Caymanians, which include crafting our legislation in such a way that at the end of the day, we talk about beneficial ownership, that beneficial ownership rests with Caymanians. With that, I'm going to pause, take a couple of calls. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hey, good morning, Jose.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. This thing about promising, the worst thing that a person can do, and you, a man of your caliber, you should know as well, that you shouldn't promise or use the word promise if you can't keep.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you should tell the person you'll do your best. Don't tell the person you got promised to do something, because that promise is something too hard to keep, and if you don't keep it, then, like what my father said, becomes a comfort to a fool's heart. But that wasn't why I called for. But getting back to this thing with us as Caymanians, I also advocate a strong man that I listened to over the years, during the Parliament times and different things, how they meeting, and that is Art McLean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That man stood strong for Cayman. East End, and he always say East End, and he always add the rest of Cayman in. But the man stood strong for Cayman. He was one of the backbones of Cayman, as well as that gentleman that you named earlier when he was making your comment.
Storm and Panton,
Mr. Panton, yeah, we had gotten away from that stronghold. I voice it all the time. The backbone of our people has become soft because when politics plays a role in our daily life, we forget that we are living and trying as people, as politicians basically, are trying to help their own kind first. And I don't know, I can't remember if it was you made the comment regarding the Indians, how their descendants had dwindled away to nothing. The Americans took everything from them in the history. They are slowly taking everything away from us, as Caymanians. It's the same situation. We are going to end up the same way as how the Arawaks and the Indians ended up the same way. We are on that same path. If our leaders have to go in and pass bills regarding how much population this country needs, our people cannot populate the Cayman Islands within 20,000 babies within another 5 years. That is telling me that foreigners is going to come in and they're going to add to the population. All this is playing under the role of politics. Our people need to get away from politics and focus on the reality of what Caymanians need, and we need help.
And caller, don't forget now, we need the foreign workers because we don't have enough Caymanians to fill a job. What we have to be careful about is that the privileges that we grant them here. There was a time when Cayman needed to have more persons come here and more persons reside here on a permanent basis. We are no longer in that position. We see the pressures that are being placed on the infrastructure that we have now. We see the pressure that's being placed on people from a mental standpoint, the traffic and everything else. So, we don't need to increase our permanent population in Cayman. Are you there, caller? Did we lose our caller, Ms. Susan?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, go ahead. I thought.
Yeah, the population is what you're talking about. Yeah, and it brings me back to every time we have children leaving the schools. They go away for these 4 years and they come back and they have no guarantee of anything. That is why I say to many people regarding this marina that they plan on putting down here. But I'm not saying that I don't support it because it can bring in infrastructure into the country. Yes, it can. But how much Caymanians are going to be get put there to work? I am telling the Cayman Islands people that are listening, I work on the Mariana on the south side, and the reason she hired one Caymanian, which was me, it was because it causes the government to take the slack off of her in order to focus on who she got bring in. And she brought in the from the Middle East on the jets week after week. It wasn't no Caymanians there, only one, and that was me. And these are the things that we have to focus on when we're talking about getting away and looking at our population. Our population is going down. Our population not going up. And we need to focus on something where our government can say, listen, stop this. We need to stop it right away. We need to focus on other people. Like when you say, yes, people have to, investors have, other people have to come in. Yeah, we understand that. But the majority should be Caymanians first. And we are not going to see that until we get a change of government. And I do not know, and I pray to God, if I have to go and run for election, so let it be. I will try to get in there and try to change something that have never been changed. And I've watched it from the last 20 years, and nothing has been changed. Promises after promises. But see what I want to speak about this morning. We have one bank, quickly. We have one bank on this island, and we have a credit union. The people on this island, are suffering right now to take their money to that bank we call CNB.
We prefer not to call names, caller. Even though we know people can figure it out because you only have one in the bag. Yeah.
And they have issues taking their money to the bank and getting their money either putting their savings or withdrawing from their savings. They have to go there with credentials stating that this is how they get their money, credentials saying this is how we need to take the money out and what we got to spend it on. The people need a freeness of having ownership on their own money. This bank is a private bank, under what I'm understanding. It's on the private sector now, and we need, or it always been, but we need to make sure that we have some agreement where the people, the Caymanian people, can go and get their money at a free state and not a struggle to sit down every day and wonder what hassle they'll give me today to get my money. And my son had the same issue with his credit card. And see, I don't know where we're going to run in this country, but for soon, we're going to have to run off.
Okay.
I don't really know it, but things is getting bad, and I hope that somebody listening, somebody can straighten up what's happening in this country for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Okay, let's grab another caller. We're running out of time here, so we're going to ask each caller to please be as brief as possible. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Sir O.C.
Good morning, good morning.
I don't want to be brief, but I'll be brief because you have allowed me to be brief. But I want to say something to you. When the people are ready, the leader will emerge. And I really welcome a lot of discussion from the people that asked the questions this morning. You know, I think Caymanians doubt themselves. And as a Caymanian born and bred, as they would say, like you, off the same road, I think we doubt that we can do things. And we allow other people to speak for us. For example, we allow the African guy to talk about we need civics in school. And, I mean, I must have been the first teacher of civics in the Cayman Islands, in Cayman Brac. But at the end of the day, you must remember your history. The problem with Cayman, we are too present. We don't remember what has happened. We don't remember the people that have done things. We only remember those we see in front of them. I want to say something this morning. I did not know Dr. McKenna was going to do a presentation at all because I really have no way of knowing anything. There's no proper media for us to know. I don't. I mean,
well, she was on talk today.
Positive.
Or the discussion that was held on there, she wasn't on. Sorry. No, I was going to say that she was on there, but I've been corrected. They were discussing it on Radio Cayman that she would be on.
Well, I know, thanks to her brother that he's there, that he was able to put her on.
Yes.
And that's what we must do as Caymanians. Regardless of whether or hue or where we come from, we must be able to tout people. There are beautiful people like yourself that have done a lot. I don't remember anybody asking you to speak. And that's the problem that we have. We think that others can do it. I'm going to say something here that perhaps a lot of people may not like what I'm going to say. But at the end of the day, we talk about the foreigners coming here. Yes. When I went to school, and perhaps you went to school, I only knew of 5 English people. And one of them was my teacher. But at the end of the day, we cannot have our cake and eat it. If we marry people, they are going to bring their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, their aunt, and everybody. So when we are marrying people, we must remember, too, that we have other people in the Cayman Islands that want some of these jobs. I agree with what was the speaker said today. I certainly agree. But at the end of the day, in the hallowed halls of Parliament, we must put the rules down there to protect the Caymanians that are a dying breed. And we must get up and say so, and you must have more people on your show to talk about it, because there are smart Caymanians out there. I meet them every single day. They don't want to get up and talk like Steve and Miss my good friend, but they make sense, a lot of sense. And this is what I want to really say to you.
Okay, got about 30 seconds. I have to go to a break.
I started to dabble in politics from 2000, And the same things that everybody's saying out there, I have it written down in my manifesto, and everything that I've done, I write. I keep. All was said. Is it that we're not listening and we don't want any change? But the change must be in us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, caller, for that. Folks, we're going to take our last commercial break. Ms. Susan, how many callers do we have on hold? 2 callers. Those are going to be the last 2 callers, and you may want to check the WhatsApp as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone, and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. 2 more callers before we close the show off. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Orrett.
Good morning, sir.
Okay. I heard a call not too long ago concerning Arden McLean.
Mm-hmm.
The Arden knew nobody to brag about. He's the same one that signed that 25-year contract with CUC that got us in the mess that we in now. Him and the progressives. Like what Mickey was said, that sweetheart deal that they made with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Lucy.
Good morning.
Just want to reflect on the comments made about independence. Independence is not going to work to our benefit unless the political platform agenda changes have accumulated into a few standards, which is light to the poor, oppress the middle class, and serve the rich. I have nothing against rich people. I think that they could be utilized properly to run a country if the politicians would keep their hands in their pockets and just concentrate on using the money to the benefit of the people in the country. For example, all the investment that went on at 7 Mile Beach, nobody can show me what Caymanians benefited from that. They could have been sweet deals, much sweeter than they did. They could have made barters. We still need things in this country. We still need special schools for special people. We need trade schools, etc., etc. Nothing is done except small Caymanians trying to do something under the wing of the government, but it's not really working. So independence sounds good to some people, but unless you have a platform that you can stand on or a leg to stand on, you're just going down the creek with one paddle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller, for that. Yeah. The whole independent thing, And it is part psychological, and part of it is the reality of the situation. Even in Bermuda, we see where it's swinging in the opposite direction now, where you have the numbers were small before in terms of those persons supporting independence for Bermuda, but it's gotten even smaller, as well. We have a lot of hurdles before we even get to that stage. A lot of hurdles that we have to clear, and one of them, has to do with controlling the population size, controlling the growth and development in the Cayman Islands. Otherwise, we simply sacrifice the quality of life, including our environment and everything that we sacrifice when we think only in terms of increasing the population or developing more and more in the Cayman Islands. Here's one person said that they just started listening, and perhaps this has been discussed. Their comment is that they believe that we have made the path to Caymanian status too short. The process starts after someone has been in Cayman for 9 years. Perhaps the process should start after 15 years or maybe longer. And I appreciate what that caller is saying, but remember, this is what got us in problems in the first place, when we allowed persons to reside and remain in the Cayman Islands without offering them any sort of pathway towards citizenship or being settled in the Cayman Islands. So it is not a simple answer, for this issue, but certainly if we allow people to remain here for a long period of time, then we have more of an obligation to offer them some sort of security of tenure. I think it has to start from the outset when people come here, and we used to say so. It used to be stated on our work permits that the issue of this work permit does not in any way should not be interpreted in any way as offering the person the right to reside, permanently in the Cayman Islands or something of that nature. Not necessarily those exact words. And we need to get back to that. But we also need the cooperation of the business sector in our community, the employers, as well. Almost any employer, if they can continue to employ the person from the cradle to the grave, they would be prepared to do that. And you wonder sometimes when we had this whole thing about the concept of key employee, you had employers who were indicating that their employee was so key to the continuation of their business. One wondered whether or not it should be the employee owning the business if they were such a key to it, rather than the person who was applying, for the work permit. So, the whole issue needs to be addressed from various standpoints. Employers, Employees also need to understand that, you know, when they leave to go to work, and there are many who go and work in countries in the Middle East and elsewhere who realize that at some point in time they have to return to their country of origin. And to be fair to everyone concerned, there are those who come with that intention of going back. There are others who come and see how tranquil, how peaceful, virtually crime-free the Cayman Islands are. And as a result of that, they want to make this their home as well. So we have a process in place that allows for that. What we're talking about now, whether or not that process is fair in such a way that the balance still remains pointing, the needle pointing towards the retention of our Caymanian identity, that the balance is tilted in favor of Caymanians as opposed to others. But like I said, there are many interested parties in this, the business people, the ones who have the deep pockets. And in many instances, some of you have this platform and others to voice your concerns. Whether or not that is falling, those concerns are falling on deaf ears is another matter. We're not privy to what's happening on the other end of the spectrum, where the persons with deep pockets, they don't get on the radio and talk about, well, my company needs these people for this reason or whatever. They do their talking and walking in other quarters, as well, not necessarily there. Let me see if we have any other messages that I can share with you as well before we close the show off this morning. This person says, other than spouses of Caymanians, all other persons who qualify for permanent residence should have to go through a lotto offered year at a percentage of the local birth rate. So persons say that we should have a lottery program in place for the granting of residency or Caymanian status as well. At one point in time, I believe that we would have had the sympathy of the UK government in terms of any legislation that we propose to ensure that we protect our indigenous population, that we are not overrun, and at the same time we use the argument that we're also seeking to protect the environment because of the pressures that any increase in unnatural population would create on our environment. But don't forget now that there is also a parliamentarian in the UK who has proposed that we should be relaxing and extending the franchise for persons to vote in the Cayman Islands to those persons who are residing here, maybe even on work permits as well. So while we may have the sympathetic ear of the UK in some quarters, we may not necessarily have it in others. But my viewpoint, folks, and my belief and my conviction is that we can make a strong argument for enacting robust legislation that restricts how persons can obtain residency and Caymanian status. And we do that simply by pointing out all of the negatives that can occur if we do not do that. This little, and I keep referring to it as this little 2x4 island, can only take so much pressure. And what do we say? Pressure bursts pipes. So after a while, the pipe will burst one way or the other. We see what is happening with our environment now. We see the lines of traffic in the mornings, coming to work, returning home in the evenings as well. If we continue on the path that we're on, we're only going to get more and more of it. And remember, we cannot build our way out of it in terms of roadways as well. Folks, I want to thank Dr. Steve Macfield, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn. I want to thank all of you who participated in the discussion this morning, either by calling in or by sending WhatsApp messages and emails as well. So I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, I just want to make sure that I don't have any birthday greetings that I may have missed as well, because I believe I had one, Yes. This person wanted to, let's see. Okay, so folks, have a great day. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the Cayman Islands.